I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. We think too much and feel too little. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness. Without these qualities, life will be violent. And all will be lost, all will be lost. Do not despair, the hate of men will pass, and dictators die, dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people, will return to the people. Let us all unite! Let us fight for a new world, to do away with greed. Now let us fight to free the world, to fulfill that promise. Let us all unite!
All right, folks, welcome to the Corporation Nation radio program. My name's Clint Richardson. I'm your host. It is Monday, December 2nd of 2013. We are coming to the end of yet another strange year. Well, you know, tonight I'm kind of in a mood. I'm going to have to warn you. I'm going to be ranting today, and you might not like it because I'm a little sick and I'm a little tired of what I'm seeing out there. I'm a little overwhelmed, actually, at the lack of action that is taking place while things are just being corrupted in such an extreme way. I had a lady actually contact me, it was quite a while ago, and she was so concerned because she saw that over the children's hospital, I can't remember where it was, one of the main children's hospitals, one of the popular ones, one of the ones that always seems to be on all the patents for all the diseases that they're creating and improving upon. And she said she was very disturbed because she saw the words, "All ye who enter here abandon hope." And she said, what the heck is that doing on a children's hospital? And I thought about it for a second, and I could see why most people would probably look at that and be taken aback, because we kind of live in a world full of hope, which is why everything crappy is happening to us, which is why all the stuff that's happening out there is happening, because we sit here in our little bubbles of hope. Hope, 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 hope. You know what hope is? You see, hope is inaction. Hope given to the people. Take Obama's Hope and Change campaign. Of course, there's nothing political about hope. Why would you elect a president who promises hope? Okay, fine. Hope, you see, is the great inactivator. As long as you have hope and you're hoping someone else will do the job, you're not going to do it. If you hope to be rich someday, you're probably not going to be. If you hope that the police don't pull you over and beat you up, well, I don't know what to say about that one. If you have hope, then you are likely not going to act. And that is the problem with hope. It's sort of a dirty word in my book. And what I see is a bunch of people out there who have hope that things will change. They hope that the completely corrupted system, and when I say completely corrupted, I mean corrupted beyond any fixing, any measure of possible resurrection. A system so vile and deprived of any morality, ethics, values, that to hope for its change, to hope that it will somehow get better as we sit here in our computerized, digitalized worlds, well, guess what? That means it's not. We're going to sit here and we're going to hope, 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 hope. Hope, 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 hope. That's all we're going to do. We're never going to act. We're going to hope that the government recognizes our Second Amendment right to bear arms. Somehow, the right to bear arms has become something other than what it was intended. In other words, we can bear our arms, we can wear them as long as they're not loaded, and there's a certain number of steps it would take to load it. And as long as this and as long as that, we can put it in our safes. We can have the darn things. But apparently, we've somehow gotten to the point where we think we are not allowed to use them. Some authority out there says that we are not allowed to use our guns. We can only carry them like idiot peacocks showing our feathers. Is it a mating ritual? What is it? What is it about your gun that makes you feel safe? Is it the fact that the government gives you permission to have it just because it says it's a right? Of course, we all know what a right is by now, I hope. A privilege, a revocable privilege. What is it about the Second Amendment, as it's been so masterfully used against us, not for us, but against us, to make us think that we cannot bear our arms in reality? What is it? The millions and millions of people out there, what is this doctrine of nonviolence? That's what I'm asking. Where did this doctrine of nonviolence come from? How is it being implemented in such a beautifully devious way as to make people completely subversive, to make them happy servants in Huxley's brave new model of our world? Why is it that the doctrine of nonviolence has taken? And my question today is just that. Why, how, what, where, and when did the doctrine of nonviolence take such a stranglehold on such hopeful people? That's my question today. Maybe I'll get in trouble for talking about the necessity of violence. Maybe I'll get kicked off my little station here. Maybe I won't be the popular host anymore because I actually talk about the one thing that we actually have to defend ourselves, which is violence. I'm hearing such things as nonviolent communication using the trivium. I'm very concerned with these types of jargons, these types of rhetorics, because it seems that the trivium is being misused by almost all who claim to be using it. The trivium, by the way, is logic, reason, grammar, and rhetoric. Okay? Not necessarily in that order. What I find is that people have been weaponizing the trivium in their non-violent communication. In other words, well, you're not using the trivium. It's like consensus. You're not using the trivium, therefore, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to listen to your opinion because it's not based on the trivium. I'm going to insult you to your face and actually use the trivium as an ad hominem attack against you. That is what is happening to this wonderful thing that people have been rediscovering lately. People are using it as a weapon. And I don't like what I'm seeing, because it literally takes something that is supposed to be against fallacy and utilizes its whole encompassing body as a fallacy, as an attack on the character of men without listening to their message. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's confusing people. People are using it that shouldn't be using it, and people are using it incorrectly. Now, an attorney, of course, will use the trivium to bring you, the defendant, down, to destroy your character, to do all the things that fallacy can do. It's amazing that the very people who are supposed to be using the trivium to enlighten are now using it as its own new type of fallacy. I'm going to call it the trivium fallacy. I just made up a new fallacy, and it's being abused all over the place. But we're talking about violence today and the importance of violence throughout history. That might sound funny to you because everyone's telling you to be nonviolent, but I'm not going to tell you that anymore. I'm sorry. I'm just not. We'll be back.
Wake up, wake up and look around you. We're lost in space and the earth is
So this poor woman, she goes and she's going to visit a child in a cancer institute for children, children's cancer. And I wish I could remember which one, but the plaque above, it says, "All ye who enter here abandon hope." And she was just appalled that she saw that. She just couldn't understand, because she, like so many, like most of us, believes that hope is indicative of something that will help her or help things happen. And what I told her, and I said, look, and of course she was concerned because, it's a mainstream medical facility offering radiation and chemotherapy. But I assured her that what that actually means is a very, very important thing to understand. And that means that if you're entering into this hospital, perhaps used wrong for this particular hospital, but if you're entering and you've gone this far to enter into the children's hospital, then you're actually abandoning your hope and actually committing an action. You are actually taking your destiny into your own hands. You're abandoning hope, and you're doing something that will make a change. You see, that's the difference between hope and action, and that's why I say that hope equals inaction. This is very, very important, because we live in a society that is based around not action, but hope. You see, we have hopes. We have high hopes. We have high hopes that something will change. Let's take the movie industry, for instance. We have all these movies that are predictively programming us, telling us what is our future, telling us about Elysium and how we're going to be working and making our own robots to guard us as police. We're going to contribute, as we always have and always will, to our own enslavement, in other words. Why? Well, it's not because we have hope. It is because we have hope, excuse me. It's not because we are acting against our slave masters. Here's the ridiculous part of it. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. I hear it constantly, over and over and over, that the last thing that we should do is become violent against our slave masters, against our elite families who own and abuse us. The last thing we should do is be violent. The last thing that they would want, the last thing that they would want. Are you serious? Are you telling me that you really believe that they want us to become violent so that they can further harm us and enslave us? Do you really believe? I mean, let's just take ourselves out of our own bodies for a minute. Let's have a little empathetic session here. Put ourselves in the bodies of an elite master who gains off us as commodities. Do you really think, for 1 second, that these people are thinking, oh, yeah, we want them to revolt. We want them to revolt. We want them to become violent, to realize who we are, first of all, and to whether we do whatever we do that is violence. Violence doesn't have to be, blood and guts. What about citizens' arrests? Something that you should be doing. We're going to be talking about that on Thursday with Bert. Why do you think that you have less power to make a citizen's arrest than a police officer has to make a citizen's arrest? What is it about the police that you think gives them so much power? So what I'm supposed to believe as a slave master, where there's thousands of slaves to my one bureaucratic position, that I want the people to revolt, that I want them to actually pick up their guns, as is their not only God-given right, but is also written in the Constitution as a privilege. I'm supposed to actually believe that my masters want me to revolt. That is the message that's being thrown out there. If we revolt, we'll be doing exactly what they want us to? That's the message that's coming from all of these shock jocks and everywhere. Are you serious? Can you imagine one slave master out there, one person who is in control of you, who has pledges on your name, on your estate, on everything that you do, every contract that you sign, that it securitizes. Can you imagine that their opinion is, oh yeah, gee, I really hope that they'll revolt? No! What a ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous concept. What they hope, there's that word again, is it will remain absolutely ineffectual, that we will remain without committing action, that we will let them continue to do what they're doing on our behalf and in our name to protect us and to serve us. I mean, I am so sick of hearing this. Now, maybe it's because I'm not an insider. Maybe it's because I'm not paid to do what I'm doing today. How I got here, I still don't know. What I do know is that these people who control us do not want us to revolt. That is a ridiculous, absolutely imbecilic concept. And we've actually now spread that amongst ourselves like a virus. It's worse than a vaccine. It's worse than fluoride. It creates complete inaction in a time of, well, what was the phrase? Universal deceit. Complete inaction in a time of universal deceit. Oh, but we're going to get them with our hope. We're going to keep hoping. Hope, 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 hope. That's what we're going to do. Hopefully someone, just like in the movie, is going to come around and save the day. Yep. Someone is going to come along, is going to be a hero. Is it going to be Superman? Is it going to be Aquaman? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be you? Well, no, because you've been convinced that you can't be a hero because you have to be nonviolent. Tell me exactly which heroes are nonviolent. Do they have superheroes out there that their weapon of choice is words? I don't think so. Huh? Do you see movies where does Trivia Man come along and save the day? No. Revolution, if you want to call it that, because I now believe most quote-unquote revolutions in history have been staged. But if you believe that Hope Man is going to be your superhero that saves the day, well, then you deserve to be enslaved by these people. You deserve what you're going to get if you do not understand your right and necessity of violence. If you don't understand that, then you will always be encapsulated in this system. Hope, the most important thing they have. As long as we have hope, as long as they keep throwing us little pieces, then we will never actually act to be free. Let me ask you this. Are you in your right mind? That's the real question. Are you in your right mind? We'll talk about that when we get back.
But if you think you need guns to stop tyranny, then what you waiting for? We've already stripped you of your liberty, privacy, civil rights, and dignity. You want some more?
Scientists have been battling to understand what this unappealing object is all about. What the object is all about.
Information in the form of energy streams in simultaneously through all of our sensory systems in the form of energy. And then it explodes into this enormous collage of what this present moment looks like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. It explodes into this enormous collage. And in this moment, we are perfect. We are whole, and we are beautiful.
It appears rather gruesome, rather like a walnut, and with the consistency of mushrooms, like a walnut.
It is the most mysterious part of the human body, and yet it dominates the way we live our adult lives. It is the brain.
It certainly does dominate. And when I ask the question, are you in your right mind, I am going to say that, no, most of us are not in our right minds, because no one in their right minds would stand around and watch police officers beat the hell and beat the life out of pregnant women or shoot somebody without cause. Okay, most people would not allow, in their right minds, that is, what's going on in the world, what's going on in government. We don't even have a government anymore. I mean, it's not even a thing that we can grasp and say, okay, here's what's happening. No, we have a complete infiltration, complete on every level, infiltration of government. We are completely taken over from within and from without. So no person in their right mind would possibly put up with this. They would actually act. They would use violence to stop what is happening. They would make citizens' arrests. They would do all kinds of things to prevent the global takeover of their cities, states, and federal governments. But they're not, because we are not in our right minds. Let's go to nature for our example here. By the way, if you want to call in and disagree with me or agree with me, that's fine. I'm in the mood to have a little debate. So please, anyone that disagrees with me, please give a call. Let's go to nature. Let's just use nature as our example. Now, let's say you're a beautiful, beautiful elk, and you're walking around with your lovely little doe. And along comes a predator. Now, are you going to sacrifice your doe and say, here, Predator Protective Services, or Doe Protective Services, I realize you're a wolf in sheep's clothing, but here, take my child. No, because this doesn't exist in nature. This doesn't exist in nature. This non-violence. What are you going to do? You're going to run. At least, you're going to have the fight or flight response from the reptilian brain. That's the very least that you're going to have. You're not going to give your children up because some piece of paper says so. That is unnatural. That can only exist in the completely controlled minds of the governed, created by government. What is government? Remember, gouverneur, to control, Latin. Mentis is mind, to control the mind. We are a completely controlled species, not with swords or guns, but with words. Just with a pen. That's all it takes. You know, if a drug dealer came up to you on the side of the street and said, "Hey, I'm going to inject your kid with heroin so I can get him addicted, so he can be my customer the rest of my life," you'd fight with every breath you have. You'd risk your own life in protecting what is sacred to you. But in government, in our world, where we are not in our right mind, where we ignore nature and the natural protections we would offer to our children and to each other, to our neighbors, and to people we don't even know, we don't do that. We are bound by words. We don't know what to do about it. We are bound by words. Nowhere in nature does that happen except in the minds of men. We are acting in the most unnatural capacity, and we are spreading that unnatural capacity amongst us as an idealism that we should not be violent when our children are kidnapped and we know who the kidnappers are. We should not be violent when a little person with a little badge comes at us with a vaccine needle because a piece of paper, a demand says that we should allow it. We allow the most atrocious things to happen because we have this doctrine of nonviolence. How in the heck did this happen in such a country with such a violent history as this? How could that have possibly happened? I think we know the answer to these questions. They're more rhetorical than anything. The point is, at what point do we abandon hope and enter into the real world? At what point do we abandon the digital realm of emailing our senators and saying pretty please to our congressmen or representatives, our attorneys? At what point do we realize the futility of that hopeful action, which is not an action at all? What is it going to take for people to turn this around? All right, we got some phone calls. Ryan in California, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Thank you for taking my call. I've been listening to you since you were on with Deanna a long time ago, and I'm from Utah, and I really have, appreciated your in-depth research. And I've procrastinated, but I have meant to get in touch with you because, on every topic, you and I see eye to eye. But I've moved away, but we'll have to do another day. Anyway, I have a really, what inspired me to call was your topic on violence today, and I have a good opinion on this I think you might appreciate.
Shoot.
I studied Kung Fu for 20 years up there in Utah, and we studied a lot of the Tao Te Ching, the works of Mencius and Confucius, a lot of ancient Chinese documents, and they base their principles out of nature, out of observations of patterns in nature, and you come to a distillation of what they call true principles. And these 108 true principles are also known in throughout Asia and as the names of God, the different aspects of God. And they remain true whether you believe in them or not, or whether you abide by them or not. Just like, gravity might be to a toddler or to an adult, regardless of your knowledge of the subject. So violence is seen more as a neutral thing, where in our culture we see it as, as a naturally to have malintent. But in nature, violence is neutral. Lightning strikes due to the imbalance of, electrons and neutrons on the Earth, supposedly, to create balance again. When there's enough of an imbalance, there's this violent action that creates balance. And you'll see that in nature with many of nature systems. When there's an imbalance created, whether man-made or not, there's a violent course correction. And the further that something becomes out of course, the more violent the course correction is. So
exactly.
In our world, with government, we were leaving all the legalisms and the legalese jargon aside, just talking plainly. We were endowed or given these ways to kind of rein in the government without violence along the way, but it really is our own idleness and our own immorality that has, we're the ones that have kicked the can down the road or turned a blind eye or had hope for someone else better to come into office and do a better job. We're the ones that were idle, and because we didn't use the peaceful measures along the way, we've allowed the thing to become so out of kilter that it will be an extremely violent action to create balance again. And while I am not for violence, I see that I have learned over the years of studying this topic that people are only as free as they want to be. Period. They're literally they're happy with the proxy life that is given to them that satiates their senses. Through TV and sports, that fake battle that runs your adrenal glands, that you get to watch your team win or lose. We're completely externalized and enslaved, and we're completely unaware of it. And we've given into the natural man doesn't fit the context here, but
let me just point out to you, and I appreciate your take here. It's a perfect explanation. And what you said is violence is neutral. But see, we've even you, with your understanding, you say, I don't support or I don't promote, I can't remember what you said now, but I don't support violence. But it's not, how can you support neutrality? That's the question. Even the most understanding of us can be pulled back into this. Oh, well, let me just say, I'm not supporting violence here. I wouldn't support violence, but we've gone so far that violence is the only thing left. That's how enslaved we all are, even someone as enlightened as you on the subject.
Well,
it's amazing.
I agree. I actually agree. What I meant, I should have finished that thought before I get all over the place. Thanks for bringing me back to that. What I mean is, a lot of truthers take the stance that, not initiating force or not initiating violence, and unless it's been initiated against you first, which is what we all kind of agree. Well, it has been initiated against us.
It certainly has.
Because I can't, if I don't vaccinate my dog or have a license on my dog, or my grass is too tall, or we can go down that road forever. Someone with a gun is going to come steal money from me or put me in a cage or kill me if I resist. So violence has been initiated against me already.
Oh, hey, bud, we're on a break, sorry.
Is this real, or is this just ride? The world is like a ride. You think it's real, it's just a ride. We can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice between fear and love. The world is like a ride. You think it's real, it's just a ride. We can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice between fear and love.
You know what? It's ironic because on the new $100 bill, I don't know if you guys have seen this $100 bill. It has that very, very important quote that says basically if government gets out of control, people should rise up and defeat them, bear their arms, and take over government. That's actually written on the $100 bill, and I find that to be, I don't know, what could you call it? A practical joke? That the money changers, the controllers of currency and therefore of the bond, the name, the pledge, would write that on the currency that enslaves everyone. I find that to be rather insulting, and I don't think we should let them get away with it personally, but that's just my personal opinion. So we're talking to Ryan in California, and Ryan brings up a good point because he was a student of the martial arts, which, even though they involve violence, violence again is considered a neutral aspect of nature. It is part of the food chain. It is part of the natural order of things. Unfortunately, as we're discussing today, what we are living through right now is a completely unnatural order of things, and the control of the mind is, it turns out, control of the body. So please continue, Ryan.
Okay, sorry. With all the background I give, my point doesn't conclude, and so I understand how, it can be taken a little different at first. But I do strongly believe in responding with lethal force immediately when violence is initiated against you. The precarious situation we find ourselves in here is that this idea of, we can't defend a peninsula from a navy. We're in a situation where one guy in his house doesn't pay a ticket and gets killed by a SWAT team, and his neighbors don't put their rifles out the window to protect him. And there's there will be a series of martyrs like that, I think, until people, enough critical mass is reached of intolerance of this behavior. But it's the wake up that's needed, because they do need to respond, though. And our lack of response to the violence initiated against us is just as immoral as the violence initiated against us. Because we allow our fellow man to be enslaved.
Well, I'm going to put it out there right now, okay? I will gladly be a martyr, because here's my thought on this. I refuse to be silenced because I believe that people should defend themselves and defend their neighbors in love, not in hate, but in love. I refuse to not talk about this anymore. I'm just so sick of hearing it. But what I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Ryan, I'm looking ahead, and I'm looking at all the possible outcomes of the civilization that we live in, the society, the communitarian society that we live in, and what it is being planned right out in the open with all the Agenda 21 plans. Every county has Agenda 21 now. It's all being put there right in front of our faces, and I'm looking at the possibilities. I'm looking at all the quotes by all these elites who want to depopulate the entire planet by vast amounts. I look at the medical industry. I look at what's happening in the cloning industry. I look at transhumanism. I look at all of these things, and in my eyes, all of these things are very, very bad outcomes for the state of humanity. In fact, it's basically taking the humanity out of humanity. It's taking the nature completely out of humanity. And I look at that, as my basis of whether or not it's time to act against what's happening here, against the central planning agencies, the private associations that have taken over. And according to that, I'll be a martyr. It's time to act against this. And it's not going to, obviously consensus is not something that's going to be garnered by the people, because consensus and the town hall meetings are not for the people. They are to garner the people's manufactured consent to allow everything that is happening to go forward. Okay, we do not have a peaceful option because government has changed in ways that most of us can't even comprehend to be what it is today, a completely saturated thing that is run by the rules and regulations of private non-governmental associations internationally as well as nationally. We do not have options as far as I can see. And this is why I wanted to talk about this today, because we have guns pointed at us in every direction, from vaccines to everything else that is being forced upon us. Any time anything is forced upon us, and any time government acts in secret, well, then we've got a problem. Like I said, I look at this new $100 bill, and I look at it, and I just think they're mocking us by putting that on there, knowing that they've dumbed us down and chemically lobotomized us enough that we probably will not act against them. And that upsets me. So I'll be a martyr. I'm telling you, it's time to get violent. It's time to take actions into your own hands and protect your damn families. Protect your neighbors. Protect people you do not know. Because that's the only way we are ever going to be a peaceful society again, ironically.
Yeah, I do agree, and it's really sad that it's gotten this far down the road that, and the fault lies in our own hands for allowing it to get this far. I look at the government and psychopaths that take kind of a will to power. I look at them like a willful opportunist, like a coyote that eats a sick animal. They're just an opportunist that takes advantage of an animal that wants to die, and the human race that's unenslaved is acting as if it wants to die. So you have this willful opportunist, predatory entity that consumes it. And it is unnatural in a sense because the animal won't defend itself, and we won't defend ourselves. So we deserve at this point the predators that are consuming us. We can become healthy. We can change that, but we have every right to, and we should. But as it sits, that's what's happening. That the parasite is doing the job that the parasite does. And
well, what's most disturbing is that we are members of the Parasite Club. We voluntarily give our permission. We voluntarily give it, a credence by voting for it. We participate in it, even though it's completely against our best interests in every way, shape, and form. And that's probably the most disturbing part about it to me.
Yeah, we've somehow been convinced to host a culture of microbes or bacteria or viruses in our body that are not beneficial to our body. But there are many that are. This host that we're hosting something that preys on us and convinces us that it's for our well-being. And until it's a mental illness. The more I learn about it, it looks like mental illness. People are literally mentally ill.
Well, that's why I say if you're not in your right mind, if you can watch the things, if you can watch violence, especially without becoming violently inclined to react to that violence, to at least to stop it because it's unjust, well then, yeah, there's a mental illness. You are not of your right mind. And I think we all recognize that deep down.
Yeah. But we'll sit and we'll watch cops tase a woman to death in a wheelchair. We'll watch this go on the news. We'll watch them, constantly get off without any charges, get a 2 weeks paid leave. And our lack of response is what encourages them. So it always comes back to it's in our court. It is our fault at the end of the day. There will always be a willful opportunist out there that will prey on us, but the fact that we don't respond places us morally, it places the fault in our own hands.
And I'm talking, and I think we're both talking individually now. We're not talking about a group, okay? The group is always going to do group things, whether that's for their best interests or against. I'm talking to you, every single one of you that's listening today, as an individual, not as a group. Okay, forget the group. The group is what got us in trouble. Now, we can get together and we can talk about these things in groups, but it is the individual that must act. Even if that individual is in a group of 100 people watching a cop beat up a kid. Okay, it's the individual. Someone has got to do it, and it's got to be every single one of you listening. Hey, Ryan, I thank you for the call. Did I hear you that you moved out of Utah?
I'm in San Diego, but I'll be visiting up north.
San Diego's very nice. All right, man. Yeah, just send me an email. My contacts on my blog site. So thanks for the call. Very good input. All right, folks, stay with us. When we get back, I want to talk to you about why I don't have any hope that the police will ever change. Because when I was doing research on police, I found something very interesting. It has to do with masonry. We'll be back.
Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel. Who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are men. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. Use that power to make this life a wonderful adventure. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world to do away with greed. A world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Let us all unite.
All right, folks, welcome back. We are talking about the holy of taboo topics today, which is violence. Now, I received a little message from a friend who said that violence is a species of force. Violence is the unjust use of force. And while force may at times be used unjustly, violence is always unjust. So I think he was trying to correct my use of the word violence to use more of a natural term where force becomes the necessary use of the law, if you will. In other words, when we look at the maxims of law, self-defense is one of the most important ones, and the use of violence for just no reason, yes, that would be, of course, wrong to put an ex-president or anyone on a pedestal and shoot him just because he's guilty of something. Yes, that would be an incorrect use of what we're talking about today. Now, when we say the word violence or force, we're not talking about going and slitting throats. We're literally talking about a full facet of things, including legal documents. You know, how do you fight legal words but through legal words? Most of us accept what's sent to us in the mail. And by accepting it and not responding, we are being passive. And therefore, the violent or forceful letter that we received becomes a contract. And we're now bound by that contract. This is force. This is violence. Violence doesn't have to be physical bloodshed, although I'm certainly not going to be apologetic in saying that's probably at the point where we're at right now. As millions of women and children die at the hands of our so-called armed forces that are there to protect government against us. And when I say us, I mean all people of all the world, both foreign and domestic, as is stated in the oath, for God's sake. All right? I refuse to be apologetic anymore for this. We've gone too far. We are going down a hole so disgustingly immoral, so depraved of anything good, and again, with no good outcomes that I can see. When you're standing on the cliff and you're about to jump off, you have one choice: not to hope that you don't die because of the fall or bust your head open. You have the choice, and that is to use force, to violently jerk yourself back and say, hey, I'm not going to jump off this cliff. I'm going to stop the person who's pushing me. I'm going to react with force or violence, whatever word you wish to choose. So here's my great concern. Now, I was doing this research article. I keep getting people to try to get people to read it. It's called Cracking the Cult of the Constitution. And when I say the cult of the Constitution, I mean most Americans who have been lured into becoming artificial persons within the construct of the corporate charter named the U.S. Constitution, which created that United States corporation. So we call this citizenship. Of course, most companies call it employment, but we call it citizenship. As I was doing the research, I'd like for everybody, just so you have a visual aid here, and so you don't think I'm nuts, I'd like for you to just go and, I usually recommend Google, but in this case, Google is the prime spot to get images. And I'd like you to go to images.google.com, and I'd like for you to type in these three simple words: police, badge, Mason. You can also type in police patch Mason, because it's really the patch that goes on the shirts of police officers. Now, most people haven't heard of something called the Masonic Degree Team, which is the team that goes out and bestows the Masonic patches to police officers, sheriffs, generals, and the like. You see, what I could never figure out is why a fraternal order of firefighters, a fraternal order of police, would be calling my home asking for its support. It has nothing to do with the police itself. It's a fraternal order, as in Masonic order. So I'm looking, and again, go to Google Images and search police badge or police patch Mason or masonry, and you're going to be shocked at what you see. Every police municipality, all the state police, the sheriffs, most of the sheriffs actually display the bundled wood, which is the fasciae, left over from Roman days. Symbol of international fascism used by Bellini. Bellini. Did I say Bellini? You know, the Italian Bellini. All right, never mind. The symbol of international fascism hangs the fasciae, bundled sticks with that are corded, hang in the halls of Congress. They are on top of the Capitol dome. They are everywhere you look. They are the symbol of the military. They are the symbol of sheriffs. The National Sheriff's Association. It is its symbol. If you start looking at the patches that these guys wear, and you understand the symbols, especially when you see bright as day in New York Police Department with a big Masonic compass and square on it, you'll start to understand what's going on here. What is going on here? Well, have you ever gone to a police department and tried to complain? What happens? They'll either arrest you or throw you out, threaten you, do all kinds of horrible things to you, just like Masons do when you try to establish a conspiracy amongst the brotherhood. You see, they protect each other in this fraternal brotherhood. And that's exactly what the police have been doing, and why we could never figure out what's going on here. I'm convinced, folks, at this point, convinced to my deepest level of being, that all of your sheriffs, including your celebrity sheriffs, are Masons, are Freemasons, free and accepted Masons, exactly like their little patches say. Exactly what these patches are they're given by the Masonic degree teams in the police forces. Okay. We're talking about something here so far beyond an organized crime, because the credo in the Masonic Lodge is to protect your brothers from everything save an unlawful murder, or I can't remember the other one. And even then, you have the choice to protect your brother. Okay? This is Masonry. And if you think about it, it's police. It answers all the questions. It makes perfect sense if you start applying this. And to see these badges, these patches that are given, and to look up the news and see that throughout history, unbeknownst to most people, there's lawsuit after lawsuit trying to get police departments to dispose or disclose of the membership of their police officers that are Masons all over the world. This is what we're dealing with, which is why I have no hope that the police are our answer. No hope.
Hi, neighbor. Welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. You know what this is? Maybe if I press this button. There are so many things to learn about in this world, and so many people who can help us learn, and so many people who can help us learn. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind?
All right, folks, welcome back.
You can grow ideas.
You are indeed in the Corporation Nation meeting tonight, let me tell you. And one more thing on this police thing, and then I'm going to take some calls. Again, I'd love for people to prove me wrong on this, because this is some scary stuff. When you go look at this for yourself, when you see these badges for yourself, these patches, you read about Masonic degree teams, you start doing research into all the police cases where police have protected each other, where the courts, the judges included, are also protecting their police. You start to see a pattern, and it's very scary. One last thing, you ever noticed, what are the police badges? What are they in the shape of? You got the 5-pointed star, the 6-pointed star, and the 7-pointed star. Whoa, hey, did you ever see that before? You know, the 5-pointed star and the 6-pointed star are basically the same thing, dating back many, many, many Masonic centuries. The 7-pointed star has a lot to do with what's called the Sigillum Diamoth. Of course, I'm not a very good speaker on these words. Amoth is a Hebrew word for truth. The sigil of Diamoth, or sigillum, is used as a seal of the truth of God. I've said before, these people don't get their power from your consent, as we have been foolishly led to believe. They get their power from a higher power. This is Masonry, folks. Now, when we look and we see what is what is a heptagon, anyway? In geometry, sacred geometry that is, a heptagon is a polygon with 7 sides and 7 angles. The word angle is spelled the same way as angel, by the way. When we read about angels in the Bible, we might want to think about that. It goes on, and it goes into the sacred geometry, which I won't get into today. But very important symbol, because it literally represents, when we look at this, what's it called again? I'm sorry, the sigil of Diamoth, the sigillum, we see that it's actually 3 sevens, three 7-sided stars, which represents, of course, the number of God, 777, as opposed to 666. Of course, in the middle of it is the pentagram, and you'll just have to look at that yourself. You can go to Cracking the Cult of the Constitution. The name of my article, part 2, is where all of this is at. it should interest you, and it should explain a few things to you. Now, on that note, again, I don't have any hope that the police are there to protect and serve. I also did an article on the words protect and serve, and they don't mean exactly what we think they do. To protect government and to serve us, the papers, the deeds, the bonds of government. That's what they're serving. Nowhere in the legal dictionary does the word serve means to help. Okay? Nor does the word protect. These are legal terms. All right, folks, let's take some calls. We've got Chris in Las Vegas, who hopefully Chris came back.
Well, yes, I did, as a matter of fact, Clint.
How you doing, sir?
I am well, and I'm certainly enjoying your discussion tonight. In fact, you recently mentioned the word angel, which, if one looks at its etymological component parts, An is a demonic pagan god. The G is well noted to be the center symbol, and the Mosons or Masons symbol, or symbol, if you like better, the sign of ball, some would suggest. And the L is another name for some form of God. And so that's where the word angel comes from.
I hate to say it, Chris, my friend, but after all my research into this, I have to concur. I truly hate to say it, but I have to concur.
Well, and we look and we know that we are living in a lawless society, and without law, we have chaos, ab ordo chaos, out of ordo chaos, or chaos out of ordo. They read backwards and forwards. And in the mirror type twisted logic that these demoniacs that we have to deal with on a daily basis, because they intercede in our lives in every aspect, whether we know it or not, it is not without the concept, like I was telling you. I think that the Masons are actually the Mosons, the Molonic or the Molochian sons of Moloch, or perhaps the something along those lines, we'll say. And the Molochs or Morlocks in the war, what was the movie? I forget what that was called. The Eloi, the Molochs. Morlocks.
Yeah, it's Time Machine.
Time Machine. These are all things that have allusions back to the ancient mystere, black robe priest cult religions of Sumeria and Babylonia, the Pharisees and the Sea People, and these things are being brought forth even more so today. And
it's very frightening because we're looking more like the Eloi every day. I mean, I just imagine that soon we'll have the one-child policy or two-child policy. Soon we'll have who knows what we'll have to sacrifice to these people so that they can treat us as sacrificial beings.
Well, you know, I also do quite a bit of pro se advocacy work, and I'm working on a terrible, horrific case up in Salt Lake City, Utah, that mirrors the McMartin Free School debacle of California in the late 70s, early 80s, when they preyed upon children in a preschool and tried to blame the people that worked at the preschool. And in my case, it was a Christian private school, and they've tried to blame the parents for the perversion, depravity, and the abuse of the children. And they've, DCFS and the State Attorney General's office there, of course, they recently removed the State Attorney General of Utah and are replacing him for some criminality he engaged in. But they have taken 7 children, including a brand new 2-month-old baby girl from this family, and absolutely terrorized, crushed. They've psychologically tortured, tormented, abused. They've done every criminalistic thing that you could possibly conceive of under these demonic, satanic courts without any law. And this lawless society we live in, where everything is legal and nothing is illegal, at least for some, it's a chaotic society, and this particular administration has done every egregious act they can think of and conjure to try to provoke us to violence, as you observed. They've defiled our common sense. They've abused us. They've got them doing anal cavity searches over mere suspicion in New Mexico. They're beating up pregnant women and throwing old people to the ground, young people to the ground, tasing them, shooting them, murder, rob, rape, pillage, plunder, everything that these particular demoniacs are noted for and profess in their special religion of men books.
Well, it makes you think almost that everything is designed to be a false flag or to induce some sort of action or reaction. And I think that's a fair statement, honestly, when we consider what we were talking about last week with the problem, reaction, solution with the Hegelian dialectic. We'll be back, folks. Stay with us.
Derivatives, quantitative easing, trade imbalances, recession, low GDP, nations close to collapsing, and subprime loans, foreclosed homes, and people's taxes spent to bail out too big to fail AAA banks again. Fear levels rising as the US crash seems imminent, having smashed the debt ceiling of 14 trillion. Despite protests and clashes in Athens streets, the IMF imposed structurally unjust programs in Greece, where in fact the term economy entered our language from the Greek oikonomia, meaning household management. Well, how are we managing? Theories about but in practice, does anyone actually know what the hell's even happening?
Is in
well,
the
it seems we've come to our global auditing, our financial day of reckoning. It's an interesting quandary. Have we invested too much in this enterprise to admit the solution might lie in its very demise? For our real economy is something much broader. It's GDP measured not by our ability to hoard, but our capacity to relearn and earn our place in nature's order, and thus remain on this planet Ark, our Pandora.
Economia, or household management. What government has plagiarized, basically. It wants to keep your house for you. Very, very important. This is what we should be focusing on instead of trying to please the people who give us licenses to have a household. We should be just forgetting all that. So we're talking to Chris from Las Vegas. We'll go to Carol next in Idaho. But like I said, you begin to see conspiracies literally all around you. Now, since I'm on this rant today, this is one of my pet peeves, is this concept of conspiracy theory. What a stupid thing to say the word conspiracy theory. I want you guys to go and look up the word theory in a legal dictionary. You'll find something called theory of case. Fact is, you can't get into court without a theory. If you go into court and just say, hey, hi, Judge, I'm just here because this guy's done something wrong, they're going to throw your case out of court. You must, by the requirements of the court, have a theory of case. No differently than any scientist must have a theory of his present scientific evidence in order to further science. How do you prove something unless you have a theory, the best possible theory to work from? It's required. What's a conspiracy? It's a plan between two or more people. Folks, you are a conspiracy. You're a conspiracy between your mother and your father. Whether you were wanted or meant to be had or not, you're a conspiracy. Your house is a conspiracy between the construction teams and everybody that built it. Everything around you is a conspiracy. So if you're going to be idiotic enough to fall for this media word that they created, taking two of the most important words in law, conspiracy and theory, and you're going to actually use it as an insult, as a fallacy, some kind of ad hominem, strange poisoning the well fallacy, then you've already lost the battle. You gotta correct people when you hear this conspiracy theory thing. Because guess what? Here's the most important part about a conspiracy. A conspiracy only exists in law under the eyes of the court. How do you prove a conspiracy in court? But with your theory that you present to get into court. See how that works? See how clever these beasts are and how they destroy the most important words that we have? Conspiracy theory. I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know, I'll wear that badge proudly because that means that I have seen the conspiracy and I've come to the best scientific evidence to prove that conspiracy. So I'll be a conspiracy theorist all day. You other people can call me what you want. Anyway, Chris, you still there, my friend? Uh-oh. Oh, well, I think we lost Chris. How about Carol in Idaho?
Hello.
Hi there.
Yeah, hi, Clint. Thank you. If I could, I'd like to go back to talking about how I see the American people. About biggest part of an hour ago, either yourself or one of your callers, I'm not sure who, mentioned something about that they thought that the people didn't bother getting active, didn't bother taking a stand or fighting back because they had some kind of a death wish. Maybe I got that wrong, but that's kind of what I heard.
Oh.
I don't see it that way. The way I see it is this, if I could offer my own opinion here. I think that the psychosociopaths who somehow always seem to go to the top official positions in government all over the world, they saw something in the American people. We'll just talk about Americans now. They saw something in the people and decided to take advantage of it. Here's the way I see it. By and large, I think, generally speaking, the American people are moral, law-abiding, and upstanding. They respect one another. They respect law. And so what these psychosociopaths decided to do was play on that. And so from preschool all the way through university and beyond, they decided to teach the people that the law, government is the law, and therefore should be obeyed. And being God-fearing people, these good church-going people said, oh, the government is the law, and God wants me to obey the law. So here we've got a miseducated people. They're actually living and judging by a double standard. If they saw me, their sister-in-law, or saw me, their next-door neighbor, steal as much as a nickel from them, you know what my name would be? I'd be mud. And yet these people, these same people that would not put up with me stealing a nickel's worth of something, they allow the government, because that is authority, that is God in action, they allow the government to get away with everything. So therefore, if Mr. Government comes along to them and has a banner across his chest and says government on it, then the people will bow and scrape and sit back and allow everything and anything to occur and say and do nothing. That's the way I see it.
Well, that's the importance of religion as well in this, why there are so many different flavors of religion, because that acquires or that actually creates the sense of hope. If I obey the Lord God, which is the vicar of Christ, the replacement of God on earth in the temporal realm here, if I obey what the church or quote-unquote God or the king tells me, which is to obey the law of the land, which is the government, well, then there's that hope that by doing so, no matter how ungodly and unchristian it is, that law, and what its accomplishments are against the people, well, then there's heaven for those who have obeyed the word of quote-unquote God, which is a bunch of psychopaths running a religion that is completely anti-Christ.
Right now, if the people were really thinking and judging correctly, they would hold the government by the same standard or to the same standard as they hold me. If they hold me in judgment for stealing a nickel's worth of something, then they should also judge by the golden rule their officials in government and call them to task when they steal or whatever they do, just as they're calling the private citizen to task for what we do. And they don't. They have a double standard there.
I concur. It's not even a double standard. It's just the standard. It's thievery is the
Clint,
standard.
what I'm saying is they hold me to a higher expectation than they do their government politicians and whatever.
Well, that's part of the trick, now, isn't it?
It's a stupidity in the people. It's miseducated, dumbed down people. They're not thinking right.
Well, and this was my point in the first of the show is are you in your right mind if you can watch such things as police brutality, if you can watch banks steal people's homes through the sheriff's department, by the way, if you can sit back and you can watch all of these things happen, then you must not logically and reasonably be in your natural or right state of mind. Mm-hmm. So obviously something has happened that has altered that natural state of mind. No one, like I said, nowhere in nature would violence not be met with violence. Nowhere in nature would force not be met with a opposite and equal reaction of force.
But you see, Clint,
except in the minds of men.
Right. Fear enters in here too. Fear of the badge, fear of the uniform, fear of authority.
Sure.
And the people are afraid to stand up against that for fear of getting thrown in the clink.
And yet, tune in tomorrow, folks. We're going to have a guest that we're going to go back to this discussion of religion, actually. But topic tomorrow is going to be the same topic, but it's going to be on Christ and what Christ was actually telling us when he said, turn the other cheek. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a pacifist, this Christ character. He was very opposite of that. And that is one of the tools, unfortunately, that's used.
Thank you, Clint.
One of the fear tools. Thank you for the call. All right, Carol and Idaho, thank you very much. We'll be back, folks. Stay with us for the final segment.
The mission was successfully completed. Reality.
Welcome back, folks, to the Corporation Nation. An interesting comment here that kind of fits the music we just heard. It says the Force is neutral. Well, yeah, and if you think about it, the Star Wars saga was about the Force being either used for dark or light purposes. Force is neutral. It is the bearer of Force that, unfortunately, makes the neutrality go either good or bad, light or dark, whatever colloquialisms you want to put in there. Violence, on the other hand, is unjust use of force. It would be the dark side of the Force. Deadly use of force against violence is not violence. This is a very important point that's being made here. In other words, if I have to kill a police officer to stop him from killing another, a child, under his color of law, that's deadly use of force against violence. Now, hopefully it never comes to that, and I can just knock him out and put him in handcuffs and make a citizen's arrest. Okay, this is use of force. And how we use the Force, of course, is how we end up living our lives, and it ends up deciding who our masters are going to be. Is our master going to be ourselves and our God, or is it going to be government and the false God that masquerades as our God of the temporal region we call Earth here? Let's go to another caller. We have, let's see, Fred in California.
Clint, how you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Doing better than the first of the show. You betted all that energy out. But I'm the recipient of it. I was sitting here just getting worked up. You know, when you talk about force and violence, you know, the force can be used for the good, and you're absolutely right. I got a traffic violation last night when I was at the Sharks game, and they claimed I was parked in a red zone. So I gave them a call today and said, that's not a red zone. And she said, well, why don't you go down there and take pictures, and we'll see what we can do. I said, wait a moment. I thought we were innocent until proven guilty. And it isn't that way anymore. We're guilty until we prove ourselves innocent, and that's how the use of force can be used against you. And I was on the phone with the city, and I said, no, this is going to go to trial. I'm not going to go down there, you know, travel 100 miles round trip, you know, and take additional pictures in the daylight just to have this ticket revoked. I want to meet my accuser. I want her to show proof that I was, in fact, parked in a red zone. And I will take it that way. To some people, you know, for $60, they'll cow down and just pay it. And that's the problem in our society today. I had a situation a number of years ago where I was caught speeding, and I wasn't. But I followed the bunny trail. And when I showed up in court, I said, I want this case dismissed because we have a conflict of interest here. And the judge says, well, how's that? And I said, well, the money collected in fines in this courtroom, a portion of that goes back to pay everybody that works in this courtroom, including you, the judge.
Yeah.
And that's a conflict of interest. I did. I spent 3 weeks, made a lot of phone calls to Sacramento. I had all the proof, and I had the case dismissed. And so you people out there, you know, you're innocent till proven guilty. And you've got to make those inconveniences and take it back to them. If they're going to accuse you, you have a right to meet your accuser and have them show proof. All I have is a ticket, you know, underneath the windshield wiper. What is that? Who is that?
Well, it's more important is to ask for because a police officer can't be a witness and an officer of the law. You can't wear two hats. So obviously there must have been someone that complained, because he can't take a complaint without a complainer. If he's wearing two hats, then he's admitting to doing something basically unlawful or illegal. So it's a very, you know, a lot of outlets there. But yeah, I think you're doing the right thing, honestly. I wouldn't drive down there either. But then again, I wouldn't want to pay those $60. Just make sure that you return all the letters. Don't let it go.
No, it's the principle of the thing. And I think that, you know, you've got to stand your ground today. There's just too much giving in to all this.
Yeah.
And,
well, it's it's no different than if I sent you a letter and said, "Hey, you cut me off in the parking lot of Walmart. You owe me $60."
Right.
I mean, it's no different. It really isn't. I wish people could understand that. Hey, listen, I'm going to take one more real quick call, Fred. Thank you for calling in. Call back anytime. Take Sovereign Man in Freedom Land. I just had to get that in. Sovereign Man.
Greetings and salutations.
Hello, hello.
Hear me?
I can.
Oh, hold on. Let me take you out. Hold on.
Just got a couple minutes, my friend.
Yeah. Listen, they presume. You have to rebut their presumption.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I just went through a big old thing with them, and it was a big mess, and I eventually had it dismissed. Actually, I presented a document at the morning of the trial, and it was dismissed. But if you're going to fight, you better get a wrought iron in your backbone, because now after you fight them, you will become a target. Okay?
Yeah, I just as far as I'm concerned, we are targets every time we say a key word and we are around our phone. I mean,
Absolutely.
everybody's a target, right? There is no non-targets anymore. We are a society with targets on our heads and on our backs, not on our front, but on our back.
Well, this is what I recommend. Everybody, these things they call cell phones or tracking devices or whatever, hey, hallelujah for the technology. We can use the technology for a better purpose. We can record them. We can save it to the cloud. We can go out live stream. I just looked at a document. It actually, I believe it had something to do with sovereign citizens. And they said, it said something to the effect of us being able to, live stream the video. Hey, hallelujah for live stream.
Yeah, I've often thought of starting a business. I know other people have done it by now, but for years I've been thinking about starting a business where, to have everybody have a camera on their dash, cover it up with a little teddy bear or whatever, and put another one on the window. And anytime a cop pulls you over, you're live streaming that sucker right to a computer.
I don't believe in hiding it. Just tell them, hey, look.
Oh, no. I was going to have everybody put a bumper sticker called, Cop Watch or something on the back of their bumper so that he knows that when he's approaching the car, he's going to be filmed.
Yeah.
No hiding.
But the key is, see, when they show up, they pulled me over last night for some bovine fecal matter, okay? I was standing there with my hands interlaced and all this, and they were going to rob me, okay? But there were 6 of them, all right? And there was one running his mouth, and they were trying to incite me. And you have to be careful because they will try to incite you.
Well, thank you for the call, Sovereign Man. One thing I didn't get into was Bitcoin today. I really wanted to talk about Bitcoin and how we're being fooled into a cashless society, completely tracked with something that has no intrinsic value whatsoever. That is also being in talks with government to completely control, and basically it's a Trojan horse. I wanted to get that in before we went. Thanks to all the callers and for listening to me rant today. Remember, force shall overcome. Whether it's force against you or whether you are the force, it's going to happen. Take care, folks.